and welcome back to the Bobby and still no Beardy Show. I think he's skydiving, extreme ironing, something like that, sipping those cocktails. Who's to say? Torgie's back though, once again. We're continuing and finishing our Hellboy, I was going to say trilogy, but it's not a trilogy because this is obviously...
It's like a saga. It's a journey we've been on.
Yeah. I feel like we have. It's the third film, but it's also the reboot film. It's 2019's Hellboy. It's another classic edition. Maybe one day we'll talk about The Crooked Bloke, and that comes... well, it's actually technically out already, but we haven't seen it.
Is it?
Yeah, in the UK. I think it's only on streaming for you guys, because that's how much faith they have in it.
Oh, it's not coming out in theaters anymore. No, they announced that a couple weeks ago that it's not going into the theaters, and it's going direct to streaming.
Yeah, like a
Great sign.
A minute before it was meant to come out, they're like, no.
Yeah, yeah. It was like 2 weeks, and they're like, actually, this movie's garbage, so...
So we might cover that one, but this will be, until then, our final Hellboy episode. Torgie, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. How are you?
I'm great, I guess. I am excited to talk about this movie.
Brilliant. What's all that washing behind you? Is that dirty? By the way, is that dirty? Is that dirty washing there?
I haven't done my... Okay, well, that's also my laptop right there. This is an accumulation of like months and months of depression. It started over there. I don't even want to show you what else is over there. I have so much laundry I've tried to get through. It's clean.
Torgie made a point of telling me it was clean before we started recording, so obviously I was going to bring it up. I have just realized that by the time I crop you down, it's probably not even going to be noticeable, so I made you...
No, you can see it through my little chair windows.
Yeah, but essentially...
You're going to get like a flash of a sock.
I made you move like this to reveal the mess that nobody could see.
Oh, you...
So, sorry about that. Oh, dear. Right, let's crack on with the show. I'll give you the rundown. Hellboy. This Hellboy is the 2019 reboot of the Dark Horse Comics character of the same name. It's the same character we've been talking about the last two episodes, believe it or not. Still created by Mike Mignola. Perlman, in the bin. Del Toro, in the bin. Sorry, a bit too much excitement there. Too much energy.
Oh my god!
This one is directed by Neil Marshall, starring David Harbour as Mr. Boy, alongside Mila Jovovich, Sasha Lane, Daniel Day Kim, Stephen Graham, and Ian McShane as Hellboy's no good human dad. He's no loving father like Sir John Hurt. Got there in the end. Third time's the charm. This film draws inspiration from the comics Darkness Calls, The Wild Hunt, The Storm and the Fury, Hellboy in Mexico, and there's also a smidge of Seed of Destruction intro in there, again in a flashback. Runtime 2 hours, just like all the other films. I wonder if
all the others.
I wonder if The Crooked Man is also 2 hours. Is it like a law or something?
You can look it up.
I'm not going to, though.
You have the internet.
No.
Fine, you talk. I'll do it.
Budget... 50 million. So that's the lowest Hellboy budget so far. Well, until
it's an hour 40.
Until the new one. Well, that's why it's no good. The new one. It's 20
They were
minutes
like, sorry,
less.
we can't have this. Actually.
So budget 50 million. Only made 55 million at the box office. So when you put marketing and stuff on that, that's not making any money. And of course, it came out in a time where DVD sales don't exist anymore. So it's done worse in the box office, and it has no chance of recovery. I don't know about you, Torgie, but
well it should.
I personally blame myself for this film failing, because back in 2019, I didn't get to the cinema to watch this film, thus devastating the box office.
Did you take to the Seven Seas to see this?
No.
Mr. Pirate Man?
No, I waited for it to come out on streaming. The last chance I had to watch it, I had an awful migraine and I spent all day in bed. So I had to wait until streaming. I have now paid for it twice on Amazon Prime, so I think I may have seen this more than anyone else on the planet. I'm making up for it now. But 2019 is when it came out. Just to let you know, that was a year of absolute monster competition. I don't think the appetite was there for this film anyway, but when it comes out in a year when you've got Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man Far From Home, these are just the Marvel films, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, Joker 1, Joker 2's just come out.
The Rise of who?
The Rise of Skywalker. What did I say? That's what
Why
I
do
said.
you put an R in there? Why do you turn Australian when you say that word?
Hey, shut up. Aquaman also came out. Frozen 2, Toy Story 4. These are all billion-dollar movies this year. And that's just me picking some off the list that I knew were going to be like right up there. 2024 box office would absolutely kill for that many billion-dollar movies. I tell you,
Oh my God.
that much.
Yeah.
But I kind of alluded to it a second ago. I don't think this was the film people wanted. Fans wanted more Perlman. They wanted more Del Toro. They weren't happy that I was so excited to say they were in the bin a second ago. Perlman wanted Del Toro. He just refused to do the film.
He still does.
He said, I'm not doing it without Del Toro. You get in the bin.
Yeah.
So yeah, the film wasn't Reboot. It's not what people wanted. Against massive competition. Totally bombed. Critically panned at the time. But I haven't watched it since that first time until the other day. I had thoughts then. I've got thoughts now. You had thoughts then. You've got thoughts now.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. Torgie, on a scale of 1 to 10, this film's a 10, right?
10 being the worst?
No.
Definitely not.
No.
I don't think so. Being the worst? Also, no, I don't think so. It's not as dog shit as I remember it being. Like, the first time I went to go see it, so in my life, I've only almost walked out of 2 movies ever in my life.
This wasn't one of them.
This one, it was one of them.
What?
This was one of them, I promise. And the other one was the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. Because that movie was so bad. Yeah.
Man, there's only been a couple of films I've wanted to walk out of. Megalopolis, which I saw the other day, was one of them. Yeah. Man, I'm shocked you wanted to leave. I didn't think it was that bad. I think the reason why I hated it so much, so me and my mom went to go see it when it got released, like forever and 10 years ago. Me and my mom are such big Hellboy fans. I mean, everyone here knows because we've been talking about how much we love Hellboy for the last 2 episodes. But I grew up with those movies, and like I just have such a connection to like not just the characters, because I think the cast in this Hellboy remake, reboot, whatever it is, I think they were phenomenal. I think they acted the hell out of this movie. I have like no notes on how David Harbour played Hellboy. I think he did a damn good job. I liked everyone else's parts. Like, so it wasn't I have issues with a lot of other stuff in this movie, but it just felt so fundamentally different. Like, everything was just wrong. And then they had that flashback scene later on, and it's like, everyone that's coming to see this movie is a diehard Hellboy fan. We know this already. Yeah.
Like, you don't need to add all of this padding on, like, these are the relationships between, Broom and HB. Like, this is how we came to... We know that. We know. We just had 300 flashbacks in the last 2 movies. Like, we are aware of what's going on.
Yeah, we don't need to see Seed of Destruction again, because it's the most of the first film is based on that. And it's kind of like when they reboot Spider-Man every time. Well, I say that.
Every time.
When they did Tobey Maguire and then they did Andrew Garfield, they immediately rehashed the Uncle Ben stuff. And it was like, we just saw this. Can we do something else?
I feel like they do that a lot in the Batman movies, though, too. Like, how many Batman movies has a flashback of him being upset that his parents are dead?
Oh,
like, we get it. He's an orphan.
I think it might be
Fuck's
legally,
sake.
legally contracted.
But everyone knows that about, like, everyone knows you don't need to keep spoon feeding. Like, you like this little soup? Here, have everything on a spoon for you. Like, no, I can use my brain. Thank you.
Also, when you flash
I
back to...
don't need it spoon fed.
When you flash back to Seed of Destruction, it does remind me of just a version of Seed of Destruction I actually prefer, because all of the characters...
Exactly. I'm like, oh, this looks like shit.
You're not doing yourselves any,
Awesome.
any favors. But I must admit, I really enjoyed rewatching this film.
I liked it a lot more this time than I did the first time.
I liked it so much first time. I think, like you were saying, like, grew up with the Perlman stuff. You kind of then read more. Well, if you're like me, read the comics, then kind of having that version in your head, and then suddenly you've got this newer version, different tones and different. And oh my, so many swear words. It's so cool. They're swearing. It took me a while. I wasn't gelling with this film for the first 15 or so minutes, and then I gradually built into it. And by the end of the film, I was like, I actually really enjoyed that. Still, there's a number of flaws which I'll talk about. But yeah, I've done as a friend of mine would say, I've done a couple of 180s on this film, which doesn't make any goddamn sense, but a few of my friends will love that reference I just made. Do I want to talk flaws first, or should we talk about stuff we actually liked? Should we talk positive?
I have so many more things I did not like about this movie than things that I did like, so we should probably talk about the things you like first.
Let's talk.
Again, I don't know if you've seen how many notes I've taken on this movie, but there are a lot of them.
There's a lot, in the rundown, I listed a good number of comics where they've taken things directly from and stuff. The vampire wrestling in Mexico to start the film, where you first meet. I didn't mention at the start that there'd be spoilers throughout. Luckily, there's a thing at the bottom of the screen. That's fine. There's vampire wrestling in Mexico. He's trying to bring in an agent. That's cool. Love to see it. Straight out of the comic books. The Osiris Club in England with all those tough wankers. They, betraying Hellboy, all the great stuff. The Wild Hunt, straight out of the comics. I love to see it. I enjoy Mila Jovovich as the Blood Queen.
I enjoy Mila Jovovich and everyone. I just enjoy her. Whenever she's in anything, I'm like, yep. The pigling changeling who's causing a ruckus throughout the film. I enjoyed just his presence in general. Also, he looks far better than I remember him being. There's actually some practical costume stuff going on in there. There
not just awful CGI like my brain had implanted. I think there's one, there's a couple of versions of it, but there's one specifically at the end where there's some CGI that's so bad, involving a spirit seance and stuff. That's all like...
Most of my issues with this movie are the use of CG, because it's not even good CG.
Yeah. But, it looks, as a whole, it looks a lot better than I remember it. And there's a lot more practical than I remember as well. Baba Yaga, that entire sequence, she's so gross and
Chef's
creepy.
Kiss. She's so disgusting.
But it's fantastic.
Why is her tongue hairy? I love it. Yes. Oh my God, her nails are disgusting. The way she moves is disgusting. When she's fighting Hellboy and she's going upside down with the sickles crawling at you, nightmare fuel. Like, no notes on the bottom. And in my notes in my phone, I'm like, I just want to be her, please. Oh my God, yes. Give me that.
Yeah, she's played by, I assume a contortionist, Troy James on set and voiced by Emma Tate, but she's gross and yucky.
Disgusting.
And there's a horrible kiss. No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all great. Like that, and how he gets there, she takes over the elevator and brings him to that the dimension and the spooky chicken leg forest stuff. All great stuff. Were Jaguar and played by Daniel Day Kim.
Bark, bark, bark. I love Daniel Day Kim.
They do a really good job of teasing that something's going on with this guy, and he's got his antidote and he's using it, so he's fine. And I really enjoy his relationship. The character's relationship with Hellboy and how they interact and how they don't like each other or don't trust each other, and then maybe one's going to betray the other, but then they become bros at the end. It's all good stuff. And I enjoy the stupid gimmick of Hellboy breaking his mobile phone.
That was great. Every time that happened, that was great.
I wish they'd taken it further. I wish there'd been a scene where, I know they don't exist, especially in the UK where most of this movie's set. In 2019, but an old payphone where he's trying to use his big hammer hand to do the buttons, and he's just mushing it to bits, or an old rotary phone on Churchill's desk or something. And he's, I think they could have played into that more, because there are other comedic bits that I don't like as much. There's a few weird things that are,
or even if they opened up a locker right after he did it one time, and there's just 30 prepaid phones, and then they just take one out and you know what I mean, something like that.
Yeah, keep the joke
explain
going.
Why they keep because
it happens really early on in the film, and then they kind of just which makes you think it's going to be a trope, and then they kind of just totally forget about it, and you're like, oh okay. Okay, I thought we were going for something like that. I like, in a way, the Hellboy's human dad.
Yeah, okay, sure.
is they've kind of gone the opposite of to again to like differentiate the versions. He's not a good dad in this film. He's also far more of an action guy, it feels like.
Yeah. I really liked their relationship with each other because I think having a dad like the Sir John Hurt version wouldn't have helped this version of Hellboy, because this version of Hellboy had way different issues than the Ron Perlman version of Hellboy. Yeah. So he needed a different kind of dad.
Yeah. A dad who sends him out when he's 10-year-old to go and kill people in the woods.
Yeah.
I just as a general like notice and criticism, I do feel like Hellboy panics way too much in this film. Like he's always getting a bit spooked. Like the elevator again, I'll reference. He's like I'm like,
wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, but I just saw him
at
the start. Saw him get stabbed 1,000,000 times, and just I'm fine. Don't worry about it. He has a big fight with some giants. He's like,
he was having a hard day. He got attacked by so many racist old rich white dudes, and then he had to swim his ass down a river, and then he had to fight 3 giants.
He wasn't having the best.
And then he got kidnapped by a child. He's having a bad day.
Well, speaking of, let's talk about one of the things I definitely hate the most about this movie.
Okay.
And it is all Alice related, who because she can commune with the dead, but via vomiting them up. And it looks awful. Like every time it looks like it's so poorly done. And I can't remember if it's an actual thing from a comic that I've either read or I've forgotten about. So it may look absolutely fine in like, paper form, but on the screen it looks bad. They needed to find a different way to do it, quite honestly.
I disagree with that sentence. I think they should have hired a better CG specialist team.
Well, yeah, but the budget's quite low.
All of the CG in this entire movie was extremely poorly done. It looked like it was done in like the whatever like free version of Adobe you can get. Like it was. And it took me out every single time. Like, they had fake blood in the entire movie. Why? Why are you having me? Because now I'm like, I'm in it. There's a fight going on. Like, the monster's like half real, half CG. I'm in it. I'm here for it. Like, the big guy's ripping people's faces, skin off. 10 out of 10. I love that. And then it's all fake blood. And it's so bad that it takes me out of that. So now I'm like, okay, well, I was having a great time. But now because you guys couldn't spend an extra $14 on getting, like, fake blood. Because all of the practical effects were so spot on. Like we have had in the other 2, installments of the series. In the head where all the rich white dudes are, with all the heads on the wall, those looked freaking awesome. Like, they had a fantastic practical team. They should have laid into that more and let them do the damn thing and used way less CG. And I think this movie could have been a potential for being one of the best in the franchise. I think it had so much potential and it just didn't ever get there for me.
It's also something else that works
because of how bad the CG was.
Because you're coming from the Del Toro version where it's a lot of practical. There's some CGI in there as well, don't get me wrong, but when you take that all away and have a lot of CGI and it's not looking the best, and it's all budgetary, I understand.
Absolutely, 100%.
They made it for 50 million, and that's the smallest budget, but you can also see it, and that's the problem. But it's also kind of to do with the rating they went for, which is honestly my biggest complaint. Because
what was it rated?
It was an R for you in the US and a 15 here in the UK.
What were the other ones?
PG 13.
Oh.
So there's no swearing. There's not.
Well, I was gonna say they said fuck like 47 times every 20 minutes in this movie.
The very first sentence in this film is Ian McShane talking about King Arthur, and he swears instantly. It's like, whoa, just to let you know, this ain't your mama's little baby Hellboy. We can swear now. We're cool. And it's like, oh, you're odd. Yeah, well done. Having a big swear. But it gets old really fast. Like, just swearing. Yeah. You're like, oh, you're saying the F word again? Okay, cool. But so they've got the higher rating. They're swearing as much as they can to justify it. But I don't think the extra level of violence really, and the upping of the gore, I don't think it's needed. I don't think it improves the film. It makes it different from the previous one, sure. So it's got its unique selling point. But I find it personally completely unnecessary because the Ron Perlman versions had some gruesome stuff, but you just didn't quite get the whole vibe of it. You didn't necessarily see it. And I've said a couple of times in this podcast this year that for other films is you've made an 18, but maybe if you made a 15 or you made a PG-13 or a 12A or whatever it is in the UK these days, that's more eyes looking at the product. More eyes means more money, and you might have made slightly more than 55 million because you put yourself in a box of an already. Sometimes
less really is more. Yeah, like you don't need to add all this extra like crap and all the extra BS CG and like I think this movie just tried to do so much because I remember being halfway through this movie and I'm taking all these notes and I'm like, okay, so we must be like getting to the final scenes of the movie. And I still have like an hour and 15 minutes left. I'm like, they've done so much. And by the last like 20-ish minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I've been in this movie for years, bro. Like, get me out of here. I'm so tired.
See, I love the fact that they go to all of these and bits from the comics and this is taken from here, this is taken from here. And it kind of is woven into a narrative that works for the overall story.
Sure.
But ultimately, a lot of it doesn't like the tone of it doesn't work 100%. The action, because of the lower budget, doesn't necessarily look good because they're trying to do something really realistic and like show you like all these limbs and things being cut off. But it kind of, like the giant fight, it's probably the weak.
See, I like the giant fight.
I like the fight. I just don't think it looks very good.
It doesn't look very good. And I think they could have done more with the budget that they had if they took out some unnecessary scenes. And I think that the opening scene where he goes to Tijuana or whatever to rescue his friend, I thought that whole scene and the whole vampire thing looked like dog shit.
Oh, I
the
didn't think
CG
it
was
bad.
God awful. It just looked so bad. And then he had that like sweet moment with his friend at the end. I'm like, okay, give me more of that. Like I need more. Like the way they like put him there didn't really make sense, and like the way that he was trying to like egg him on didn't really it just like didn't hit for me. But like if they took that out, that's a huge like $100,000s of dollars that you could use to put towards other scenes.
I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, basically you're showing so many snippets from the comics that you're not concentrating enough on the ones. I get that.
I think they just like thinned out their resources, and I think if they had like 4 really big scenes, I think it could have been a really kick-ass movie.
Yeah, I agree. But I have also spent the last 2 movies going, I want more comic stuff. Show me him wandering around punching people in the woods. And this movie,
which was great.
This movie gave me that.
And that was great. I liked the Queen of Blood. I really liked her whole dynamic with her pig friend. I thought he was awesome, even though he swore too much. Yeah. I really liked how dark this movie was. It's a movie about a Nazi demon Satan creature kicking the shit out of other demon creatures. It's supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be messed up. I need more of that. And this movie definitely gave me that.
Yeah. You mentioned in a message you sent me while you were watching the movie that you really enjoyed the soundtrack of this movie. Is that something you still agree?
I do like the soundtrack.
See, I really like the songs that are in the soundtrack, but I actually find the implementation of them really awkward because it's kind of like clunky and chopped in and out. There's a Royal Blood song where because I know the song so well because I'm a big fan of Royal Blood, I'm like, oh no, what have you done? It's just like hacked to pieces. And they do all these like rock songs that people know, and you're like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I think they were showing how like hard this movie is. They were like, look, what if you took Hellboy and like made him go to Hot Topic? Like that's what this movie was.
It's true. Yeah. So that's one of the things. The soundtrack itself is good, but yeah, I think its execution is a bit rogue. Also, just I'm seeing my note here about the vomit seance stuff being bad. I actually find the character of Alice just generally quite annoying. I don't know. There's something about rubs me the wrong way.
So I'm a big, this is going to sound really bad. I'm a big I like looking at people's faces, and I'm half deaf. So whenever I look at people's faces, I think I talked about this. I like people's mouths because I read lips to understand most of what people are saying. Alice's mouth. Why did she get so much filler in her top lip? God, why? Why did she do that? Because Deadpool's girlfriend in the first Deadpool movie also got way too much filler in her top lip, and I couldn't look at anything else on her goddamn face except for her top lip, and I'm like, stop it. The only thing I liked about Alice was she punched the soul out of something, and I'm sorry, that's dope as fuck.
That's really good, but it also, she didn't seem to know that she could do that, but also was like, yeah, I can do stuff, and I was like, did you...
Well, she's like, yeah, ever since I got kidnapped by the fairies when I was little, I could do weird shit, so it doesn't surprise me that I can punch the soul out of somebody.
I don't know, yeah, that's fair. There's a ruckus in the woods, and she's punching souls out of undead witches, I suppose, is what they are.
I think just creatures, I guess.
Yeah, various
I will say one CG situation that I loved was when the queen gets back to her tree or whatever, and she crushes her two sisters.
That looks really good.
Oh, that looked really good. So then I'm watching this whole movie with this bullshit shitty CG, and we get to that scene, and I'm like, that was sick. Where was that the rest of the movie? Because if the CG was that good the rest of the movie, this movie would have kicked so much ass.
Yeah.
So they could do it. They just chose not to, and that sucks.
The visuals let it down in various places, especially towards the end. There's some big monsters roaming the streets of London, and they look a bit... The character designs look...
The character design is so sick. That's what I meant to.
But you're like, well, that's a big CGI man walking down the street. It's like, that's not part of the same reality and things. So yeah, but it's all budget again. You don't put I get it on this scope, but and you don't back it properly, then you're gonna end up which kind of implies that you made the wrong budget.
Well, that's the thing. If you can't do it, then just admit that you can't do it, because nobody was asking for a new Hellboy. This movie, nobody asked for it, nobody wanted it, and then it bombed, because of course it did. That's because they were cutting corners, and no shit.
That's exactly right. It came out at the wrong time when there was no demand for it. Everyone wanted a different version, and it didn't 100%. And when you're going into a film going, I don't want this, which is, I feel like how I watched it the first time. I was like, I don't want this.
Same.
This ain't my Hellboy. Then you're going to be far more negative. And that's kind of how I started watching this film to do this podcast. I was all my notes originally were like, this is a negative thing. This is a negative thing. This is a negative thing. And then it won me over. Eventually, I got into the tone. I started enjoying, I really disliked David Harbour's look as Hellboy at the start. I was like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to, having watched the other two back to back. But then you get used to it, and you get used to his version of Hellboy and the relationships.
I really like his version of Hellboy.
Yeah, I ended up really enjoying this movie.
I think he did a kick-ass job with it.
I genuinely would like a sequel. I know we'll never get it, but I would like a sequel now at this point, because
they found Abe at the end.
Yeah,
they found Abe.
Yeah.
Also, at the post-credit scene, did you watch the post-credit scene?
No, where they find Abe is it's like the last sizzle bit of fun before.
Yeah, but then there's a post-credit scene.
No, I've never watched it. What is it?
So it's we're back in Baba Yaga's house, and we're focused on her and her titties, and they're flopping all over the place.
Obviously,
like they do, lovely, wonderfully, no notes on her titties. And she's talking to somebody, and she's like, listen to me, Hellboy's a bitch. He promised me his eye, and he gaslighted me, and now he's gone, so you need to go get him, and you need to kill him. And she's like, you need to do it because you can't die. And then it fades to black. I don't know who that is that can't die. But she was prompting somebody with a gruff, manly British accent who can't die.
Could be bloody anybody.
To go and kill Hellboy in the next one. So, between that and the this post-credit scene and them finding Abe, if you wanted to do a sequel so badly, why'd you make such a shitty movie? I don't know. Make it better, and then you can make more. That's how it works.
Films to this day still like to tease for sequels that they have no idea they'll be able to make, and then it looks very silly.
It looks so silly
when they don't make them. But like I said, if you'd have asked me a week ago, and like when we recorded the last, the Hellboy 2 review, I was like, Hellboy 2019 sucks. I don't want it. And now I'm sitting here going, actually, it really grew on me, and I'd very much like a sequel. But we'll never get it. Hard blasting towards the end of the movie. The worst bit of this movie is unfortunately very close to the end, which is Hellboy's. I almost said humans. Hellboy dad again. Hellboy's human dad dies. He gets his throat slit by the Blood Queen's finger, which is cool.
Yeah, she's just like, get this out of here.
And then instantly comes back as a vomit ghost. And I'm like, well, you've just really undermined like his death, because he
didn't have to die at all.
He's got like a 10-minute not montage. He's just yapping, going
monologue.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, he's just yapping away. This is why I'm a good dad. Actually, I'm not a bad dad. Turns out you are a bad dad, Ian McShane. Actually,
I think if you don't tell your son that he's a Nazi that you went to go kill, I feel like that makes you a bad dad. Like, you gotta tell somebody if they don't know they're a Nazi. I don't know. I would want to know if it was me. I'm just saying.
But it's like, so you've really undermined this death of this character, and he's instantly back yapping away. Couple that with the fact that it's the worst, like, bad CGI in the film. Like, that entire effect.
I think the Werepanther looked bad every time. The concept was great. The execution was very bad.
Well, I mean, how do you got to spend big boy bucks to make that look.
Well, that's again, if they took Daniel Day Kim's character out of the movie, it would be no different.
I don't know. I actually really enjoy their relationship.
I like their relationship. I do not think it added enough to the plot, and I think it added a lot of unnecessary expenses trying to make that Werepanther now look like shit.
I can't argue with the budgetary message. Ultimately, I just wish they gave this film more money. I really do.
I know, exactly.
But then it would have just been a bigger bomb. So
no, I think if it looked better, more people would have given it a chance. It's hard when you take a franchise that so many people love and like put their hearts into, and then you're like, actually, I know nobody wants this, and it doesn't look fantastic because we don't have a lot of money. But here you go, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
we're trying to make some of them.
I didn't order this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in summary, didn't like it originally. I very much liked it on a rewatch. And I prefer this to Hellboy 2, 100%.
Okay.
Like, just, but we, people who watched and listened to our Hellboy 2 review know that I'm not the biggest fan of that movie. It's got some goods, it's got some bads. I am to this film. I know you don't agree with me at all.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah, I really dug it. Do we have time for a few quotes? I want to see if we wrote down. You probably wrote down more than me. I wrote down 2 quotes, and I want to see if we.
Lots of quotes. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
The first quote I have written down is when he's talking to his friend in the wrestling ring, and he's trying to like reason with him, and he's like, "Nah, we used to play guitar. You'd play all that hippie acoustic crap, and I'd play real music."
And how did he do that? How did he do that? Because he's got a big old fist.
That made me laugh so hard.
He must have the world's biggest guitar to do that. I don't know.
Oh my god, it was so funny. The second quote I have is when he's talking to his dad, I think, and his dad's like, "This has nothing to do with you. You didn't like this. Him dying is not your fault." And he goes, "If my face could talk, it would disagree with you."
That's another good quote. Yeah.
What are some of your quotes?
The 2 I wrote down that I particularly like are, "Destiny is a stupid word for coincidence."
Yeah, that was a good one.
But my personal favorite, right at the end, after Hellboy has decapitated the Blood Queen and is about to throw her back into the fires of hell, which have opened up in St. Paul's Cathedral, and she's yapping on about how she'll get her revenge and whatnot, and he's just holding her going, "Lady, quit while you're ahead," and just tosses her in. What? Chef's kiss!
No!
That's so good. Oh, dear. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I did write down the "How do you have hair on your tongue" quote because that makes me laugh every single time. When Baba Yaga's like, "We'll seal it with a kiss," and she's just like licking his face, and he's literally like, just having a bad time, like, oh god.
Yeah. It leaves a residue.
Why is your? Oh my god! And she leans back and she's got like,
it's vile.
Thrush on her.
It's horrible.
Disgusting. It's so horrid.
Oh. Yeah.
And that's my favorite scene of the movie.
It's a good scene. It's a strong scene. When I first watched it, my opinion of the movie was the first hour is good and the second hour is not so good. Almost the Baba Yaga stuff is where it makes a big change and goes downhill. But I'm pleased to report my opinion is different. It's fine. I like the movie.
Yeah. I went into it with the mindset that I had to keep repeating to myself to give it another chance, a fresh start. I was like, I know I didn't like it the first time, but that was a long time ago, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to like it this time. And it was rough. I texted you a couple times, and I was like, I am struggling. And I did play Slay the Spire for the last, 40 minutes as I was watching the movie.
Dear, oh dear. Right, just before we wrap up, I just want to say one more thing. They reference Seed of Destruction in a flashback. They've got Lady What's-Her-Face, who's the who can do the science of the seance and whatever.
I could do a whole episode on her and how much I hated her fucking character.
She's actually in she's there in the real Seed of Destruction comics, or at least a version of that kind. But Lobster Johnson, who I love Lobster Johnson, he's cool.
Lobster John! I laughed so hard when they said that his name was the Lobster. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
He's not in that's not him in Seed of Destruction. It's the Torch of Liberty who's there. They just took a different character when you're cooler. Just dumped him in.
That's what I'm saysaying. Like, they put too much in this movie. Like, he didn't need to be there.
No, he didn't. I mean, I enjoyed him, but he didn't. Yeah, you are 100% right.
I also thought that was one of the weakest scenes in the movie.
Well, it's like I said earlier. It's kind of reminding you of something you've already seen and in a lot more detail and in a better, stronger with Clockwork Sand Nazi assassins running around.
Sure.
So, there we go. Anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Perfect. Well, there is our review of Hellboy 2019, the reboot. We've done it, Torgie. We've completed the Not trilogy.
We've done it.
And, thanks so much for joining me in Beardy's vacation cocktail-based
Are you going to thumbs it up? Hello?
Oh, yeah. I said it a lot. Yeah, it's my second favourite Hellboy film. Yes, I'm giving it a thumbs.
Yeah, but you did no thumbs. There was thumbs in the last two, and there's no thumbs.
I don't know what it is about the classic reviews we do. I always forget to do the thumbs. I think when we do the normal
you forget
ones,
to do the thumbs.
I forget to do the thumb. Yeah, in the normal one, it's like you do non-spoilers, you do the thumbs, then you do spoilers. In this one, because we just talk so openly, I just forget to do the thumbs. Anyway.
The last episode was an hour long. You've lost the plot.
I really have. Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down from you, though? That's the important thing.
Okay, so to recap, first movie got 2 from me.
Yeah.
Second movie also got 2 from me.
Right.
This movie, originally, I refused to give any fingers because I was like,
out.
This movie fucking sucked. I almost walked out of the theater. And now I think I can give it 1 thumbs down.
Oh, no!
Just 1. But I'm still giving it a thumbs down because I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Fair enough.
It talked a big talk, and then I just feel disappointed.
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad I enjoyed it so damn much. Put it that way. Thank you.
I hated it way less the second time, for sure.
Perfect. I'm glad I made you watch it. Thank you so much for watching and listening, everybody. I've been Bobby. That's been TorgiePie. And this was my Hellboy review. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.